sightsoundsflavors.com. If at any point in time you like this video, smash that like button. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and leave a comment down below. So it is Sunday morning. It's 11:14 a.m. here in beautiful Louisville, Kentucky. I'm coming at you from the Sight Sounds Flavors studios here in Middletown. And I'm going to talk about that April the 9th video, which I cannot seem to shake. Everybody is asking me questions about it. So I've got my energy drink, I've got my sort of iced coffee drink, and I'm ready to go. And I'm probably going to be on here for about 25, maybe 30 minutes. And we're going to talk about that very, very fateful day, that April the 9th, 2024, at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, where I was coming back to Louisville, and I saw the Karens go at it. And I got to tell you something, it was a really interesting video for me because, you know, I don't do a lot of those. You know, primarily what I do is I do travel videos, I do contest coverage at bodybuilding shows. You know, I do videos where I'm here in the studio and I'm talking into my phone, or I'm talking into a camcorder, or various different camera equipment, but I don't usually, oh, I'm so sorry, I just realized the microphone was there. I hope I didn't just do that in someone's ear, but something about that encounter with the two Karens just got me. I mean, I just knew that something was going to happen. It's just like one of those things that you just know. And I should have started filming when I first got in line and I saw the Karen come from the side and she was yelling across the room at the younger Karen, the Meryl Streep lookalike. But I just didn't think to do it because I was like, you know what? We're all in line. You know, here's an airline employee. We're already in line to meet with TSA. She's basically in the peanut gallery. She's not going to be able to do anything to this lady except yell at her from outside of the line to TSA. I never in a million years thought that she would come back and go in because she had to, it was almost like, it wasn't even like a rope that she had to lift to go in. She literally had to go around and go through or somehow because, you know, it's a contained space because once you're in that line, the next people you see are TSA. They don't want people being able to come in and out of that group for security reasons, obviously, especially after 9/11. That group has got to be insulated, right? And so she must have gone around and through a Spirit Airlines employee that allowed her to go through because she didn't have a boarding pass. I mean, she wasn't flying. She is an airline employee. So and this is an interesting concept. I'm not trying to get more people in trouble, but really the airline employee that let her come in really was in the wrong as well because she wasn't a passenger and she didn't have a reason to be amongst the passengers, right? Guys, if you want me to answer a question, put it in the comments. You can also buy a super like and support the channel. You can like the video at any time. You can subscribe by ringing that bell for notifications. So there's a lot of things you can do while I'm talking, but it's interesting because when she came back in, that is when I reached for the phone because then I knew that a lot of things were not as they should be. Number one, why was she back? And I got to tell you something, a lot of people that are sticking up for the airline employee, hey, listen, we all have the right to our opinions, you know, and a lot of airline employees, as well as people that work in pharmaceuticals, a lot of people that work in healthcare have come out in support of the older Karen. Now, they're both Karens, 100%, and I will argue that till my dying breath. They are both 110% Karens. They were both in the wrong. They both took it to a level they shouldn't have. The only difference is you don't see what the younger Karen did. I didn't see it either, but she definitely did something. Because to get that older lady to come back not once, but twice, and the second time she knew, if you watch the video, you can see that peripherally she sees me there. And she doesn't care. She was to the point, now this is something that I think really should be said. She was to the point where I think she was okay risking her job because this blonde woman, and I say blonde woman because there's a lot of women, and I want to distinguish her from the rest, offended her on a level unlike anything before. Now, you've got to take the comments on a viral video with a grain of salt. What do I mean by that? From April the 9th until now, there have been a number of people that have said, I know her. You've got it all wrong. I work with her. Now we're talking about the elder, she's not elderly, the older Karen and the younger Karen both. You shouldn't call them Karens. I know them. They're not like that. You've got it all wrong. Take the video down, blah, 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 blah. Now, most of those people, when I write them back, because we're talking email conversations here, I say, well, what's her name? Where are you from? Where is she from? And they don't have an answer. Now, somebody that legitimately knew her could say, well, look, I don't feel comfortable giving you her name because you might put that out there, but I can tell you that she's from Texarkana. Or I can tell you that she flies out of Los Angeles. I can tell you that I know her from this coffee shop. And I can tell you, look, here's a picture of us together. I know her. You have got this wrong. That never happens. So what I mean by that, and where I'm going with that, and I would like to see some comments, folks, because we got 33 people watching. We've had about 60 people come in and out. Not one single comment. Not one single question. Not one. I mean, come on, guys. Let's get engaged here. So I've had people say that the older Karen does this on a daily basis, that they have had encounters with her before, that she's a very difficult, belligerent person. Again, I got to call BS on that. Because if this lady was doing this on a daily basis, am I the only person on this rock called Earth with a phone? Am I the only person that's privy to how social media works? I mean, guys, this video on YouTube alone has over 4 million views. On TikTok, it's got 13 million views. On Instagram, about 500,000. On TikTok, I already said TikTok. On Twitter, a little bit on LinkedIn. But the thing is that I'm not the only person that has a phone. I'm not the only person that knows how a phone works. So the reality of the matter is that I don't think that this older Karen would do this every single day. So if you guys have any questions, please leave them down there. As always, please like the video, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We also accept super likes. So here's the thing. It's interesting because we don't know what happened initially. But I will reiterate it once again. The older Karen knew she was being filmed. Now, do I have to ask permission to film in public? No. Do I have to ask for permission to film on private property? Yes. Is the airport private property? No. Who funds the airport? I do, and you do, and everybody watching this video does. The government does. And who is the government? The government is we the people. And there is no expectation of privacy in public. So therefore, I don't have to ask for permission. But here's the deal. I want you guys to hone in on this. I was not trying to secret myself. The younger Karen knew I was filming. The older Karen knew I was filming. Everybody around us knew I was filming. And one lady, if you watch the video, did not want to be in the shot and got out of the shot. I didn't follow her. I didn't make a point to get her on the shot. I respected the fact she didn't want to be on the shot, so I tried to stay away from her. That's what you do when you don't want to be on film. For example, you watch a lot of these First Amendment auditors. I know I do. Amagansett Press, AP, is one of the best. Watching The Watchmen, his son's amazing. KULT News does a great job. Nasty Nathaniel does a great job. First Amendment auditors have every single right in the world to film from the public right of way. You cannot trespass the eyes. Now, if somebody comes out of the woodwork and gets in their face and says, I don't want to be on your camera, their rebuttal is always the same, and it's a classic one. Well, why did you put yourself in front of my camera? You don't want to be on camera. Why did you come out when nobody was looking at you just to tell us not to put you on camera? Now you're on the camera. Now you're on the video, and you're demanding that we remove you from the video, which they can't do, because if you're filming, you never stop filming, because if something happens, that's your proof. So in any event, if you don't want to be on film, get out of the film, just like the one lady did. Did anybody else do that? No. Did the girl with the big shower cap bonnet do it? No. Did the guy that had the thing on his neck? No. Did the guy that looked like he slept on the beach? No. Did the guy immaculately dressed in the blue suit? No. Did the Indian Pakistani guy that looked over? No. Did the couple that was behind blonde Karen, did they? No. In fact, the poor guy got body checked by the older Karen, and that's also created a lot of conversation, because they're saying this guy was just in line. and he gets body checked. Basically, why? And then his wife, who followed the unlawful directive from the Spirit Airlines employee that said, don't worry, folks, she's not going anywhere, basically wanting the line to keep moving so she could get stuck behind, because that was her way, in my opinion, of keeping her from flying. She couldn't tell TSA not to let her pass because she had a boarding pass. She had a valid identification. She wasn't on any terror watch list. There's no reason for her not to be admitted to the terminal, right? But if the Spirit Airlines employee tells everybody in line to proceed while keeping this woman unlawfully at bay, she's not going to be able to board the plane. I'll tell you something. When I got to the airport, I had about 15 minutes to get to the terminal because at 15 minutes prior to takeoff, they shut the door. So I cut in front of a gajillion people that were nice enough to let me cut through. I didn't have a lot of free extra time on my hands. You know what I mean? And the reality of the matter is that was that employee's way of preventing that passenger from flying. So when the gentleman's wife took a few steps forward, that's when Blonde Karen also walked forward. So this poor woman was, I'm talking about the gentleman's wife, was caught in between a rock and a hard place, because I feel like everybody in that line, in my opinion, empathized with the passenger, in my opinion, even without knowing anything else about the story, because she was a fellow passenger and because they witnessed an injustice afoot. And nobody was saying anything. I was recording because I wanted there to be some evidence, but I didn't say anything. Nobody said anything. That's another interesting factor. Nobody said anything. Now, you could say it's because people had somewhere to go. You could say, as many people have said in the comments to me, mind your own business. Well, maybe during the civil rights movement, when people were getting sugar and coffee and milk and orange juice poured over their head because they refused to have this separate but equal injustice, and they sat on the lunch counter because they wanted to fight this injustice, maybe these same people would have been saying, oh, mind your own business, it's not your affair, don't worry about it. Well, I got to tell you something. People that mind your own business usually bear witness to some pretty horrible things in society, and the people that either record it or fight it or question it usually are the catalyst for change. I will tell you that I thought that what I was doing was important, and I thought that it was more important for me to film it than to say something, because I couldn't do both at the same time. That being said, not a single person said a word, but I will tell you, reading the faces, the awkwardness, the confusion, I think that a lot of people, if you were to poll them, would have sided with the passenger, just out of the commonality of being in the same place, and also the commonality of feeling as powerless as Blonde Karen felt. But something happened. Something happened during that interaction between the two Karens that I think is very, very noteworthy. And that something is when the employee told everyone that they could go, that she wasn't going anywhere. These were the employee's words. Folks, she's not going anywhere. That is when the Blonde Karen stopped being the victim and got proactive and said, you know what? I'm not going to miss my flight because of you. That's when it was done, because people say, why did she show the boarding pass? Why did she cooperate with an unlawful order? Why didn't she say anything back? Why was she so passive when the employee had no right to either detain her, to ask her for a boarding pass? Why? I think that the Blonde Karen, maybe it was a combination of some guilt for what she said initially. Maybe it was a fact that I was filming. Maybe it was a fact that she just wanted this to be done with. Maybe it's because she thought it was done with after the first initial encounter. Well, the initial encounter is one we didn't see. The second encounter is when older Karen came and confronted her. And then the third encounter is what you did see. So maybe at the third encounter, she was being passive because she figured, okay, there was the first encounter where she was to blame, let's say. There was a second encounter where the lady came back. That should have been it. But here she was again. Maybe she was just to the point of like, let me just see if she'll go away. But when it became abundantly clear that her goal was to keep her from flying, Blonde Karen said no. She was like, you're not going to keep me from flying. And she started walking forward. And that's when the employee did something that I think is worse than saying F you too. She blocked the Blonde Karen. She went hands-on. And there's no question about it. You can rewatch the video to your heart's content. She went hands-on. She committed a battery. And not like a battery like where, you like blow on somebody, which is still a battery. It's an unpermitted touching. Even though your body's not touching theirs, you're sending air in their direction. That's still a battery. But this woman, and I'm a lawyer, by the way, in case you're wondering, I'm not just some person that like read up a law description. I've got the law school debt to prove it, and I work 50, 60, 70 hours a week as an attorney in downtown Louisville. That's a battery all day, every day of the year, including Christmas. And that is where I feel that she really, really went off. But in any event, she went hands-on. And after she went hands-on, then it culminates and it ends with the FU2. But I got to tell you, a lot of people, again, to reiterate, to kind of go back, and again, if you're watching this video and you like it, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to Sight Sounds Flavors on YouTube. Visit sightsoundsflavors.com, ring the bell for notifications, and leave comments down below. So far, we've had over 100 people join us live. We got 16 people watching live. Not one single comment, not one single thumbs up. So I don't know if you guys are a sea of robots or if you're scared that if you like, I don't know what the story is, but I'm going to keep on talking. So it's interesting. The live format's interesting because this same video is going to generate 200 comments and 500 likes after it's live. But for some reason, the people that are watching it are just, I don't know what they're doing. But the point is, folks, a lot of people from different sectors have come out in support of the employee. Like I said, healthcare workers, pharmaceutical reps, they've come out. Now, what's interesting is airline workers. Airline workers have also come out, but they've not come out in support of the airline worker. They have come out in support of the passenger. And that is very noteworthy. Because I think what happens is that most airline workers have to work with the public. They've got to take this abuse. Not saying that the abuse is correct, not saying that passengers have the right to abuse of employees, but it happens every day. And I think that a lot of the employees, the airline employees that have come out in defense of the passenger, recognize that the passenger was probably a handful to deal with, recognize that the passenger was a Karen, but chastise the airline worker for coming down on the passenger, especially in public, because she came down on the passenger in public wearing the airline uniform and just, I think, made a lot of them look bad. So I think it's an interesting situation that happens on April the 9th at Fort Lauderdale Airport, and I will certainly do more lives to talk about it in the future. But I just think that it's interesting how different opinions go and how people respond and process this incident differently. There's no question that it struck a nerve with a lot of people because, again, to have, upwards of 20 million views for a video that's not even 2 months old, or I guess it's 2 months old. Well, it's right now we are in May 26th and it was April the 9th. No, it's not even 2 months old. So the reality of the matter is that it certainly struck a chord and people are still watching and people are still leaving comments. Although in this live, I don't know. This is a live. I don't know if these are robots or if you guys are sleeping, if you're operating a motor vehicle. I hope not. I hope that you're not. But the fact is that people are leaving comments left, right, and center. People are leaving likes and dislikes, although YouTube doesn't recognize a dislike anymore. But I got to tell you something. It's one of those things. And now the other thing, and this is where I personally have had some head bumps with folks or butting heads with folks. People say, well, you get what you pay for. Now, let me touch on that a little bit because I think that's an important point as well. There is a group on Facebook called American Airlines Complaints, and it's nothing but complaints. That's the name of the group. American Airlines is not a discount airline. In fact, it's one of the main airlines for the United States. American, Delta, United, I think that's it. If I'm missing one, let me know, but I'm pretty sure that's it. Those are the three main airlines. I mean, Southwest, JetBlue, these are big airlines, but they're not a main airline. American, Delta, and United, those are the main ones. I mean, there used to be Continental and TWA, Pan Am, Eastern. They're all gone. Northwest was a good one. Delta owns that now. So, I mean, to me, it's Delta, United, and American. Those are the three that the main airlines. And you have a group like that for American, and you have a group like that for Delta. So it's not to say that because you fly on a discount airline, be it Spirit, Allegiant, or Frontier, that you should receive this kind of treatment. I can't call this customer service, body checking someone, blocking their pass, cursing at them. That can't be called customer service. I mean, even bad customer service. That's not customer service at all. So again, it's very bad treatment. Oh, we got one like. Yeah, great. Awesome. For 20 minutes, we got one like, but I appreciate that very much. So I got to tell you, it's one of these things where, to me, it's not a valid argument. Now, if you were to say, oh, I had to pay extra for a cup of coffee. I had to pay extra for, this little wafer, which you actually can buy on Spirit. I had to pay extra for a beer. I had to pay extra for an emergency aisle seat, or I had to pay extra for the big front seat, which is like their first class version. I had to pay extra to pre-board. I had to pay extra for the internet. I had to pay extra to have a carry-on. These are all valid points, and these are all actual charges that you would have to pay. My carry-on was 1 inch bigger, or actually fit perfectly in the square, and they still charged me. That would be a valid complaint. But to say that because you flew a discount airline that you can't complain because somebody curses you out, prevents you from boarding, and body checks you simply because you bought a ticket on a discount airline, to me is a ridiculous point to make. But there have been hundreds of people that have made that very point. So look, when you fly a discount airline, there's a lot of well-to-do people that fly Spirit, Allegiant, and Frontier as well. Rich people are rich for a reason. A lot of them don't splurge. A lot of them like to save money. A lot of them like to stretch the dollar. It's the nouveau riche. It's that new money that likes to spend on everything and get first class, and they have to have Uber Black or Uber Lux, and they only eat at the best places. But no, rich people that have been rich, especially that have been generationally rich, like their parents are rich or grandparents are rich, to them, especially if they're not like me, I'm 6'4", 320 pounds. I'm huge. But if you're a rich person and you're like 5'5" and weigh $160, you can fly perfectly fine on a regular seat. If all you're trying to do is get from point A to point B, and look at Spirit, for example. Right now, if I wanted to fly from Louisville, Kentucky to Fort Lauderdale on either American, United, or Delta, I would have to have a connecting flight, whether it's Charlotte or Chicago or Atlanta, just to get to Fort Lauderdale. If I want to go from here straight to Fort Lauderdale, I have to fly Allegiant or Spirit, 2 discount airlines. And they will get me there in 2 hours and 10 minutes. Whereas if I was to fly Delta, United, or American, the shortest trip I could have would be 6 hours. Now, why would I do that? Now, if I want a seat as big as I would get on Delta, American, or United, then I pay extra and I either get an emergency aisle seat with Spirit or I get a big front seat. If I want to take an extra bag, I pay for it. If I want to have a beer and a bag of chips, I pay for it. If I want to pre-board, I pay for it. But basically, and then my ticket's going to go up in price, and maybe I'm paying more or less what I'm paying with the big ones, but I'm not having a connector. I'm going straight. So again, a lot of people are saying don't fly Spirit. I fly Spirit all the time. I flew Spirit twice since this happened, and I'm flying Spirit again this Sunday. The staff are super nice. The planes are rarely, if ever, late. I don't have any complaints. Do I regret taping the video on April the 9th? Absolutely not. For example, I support law enforcement. Is there law enforcement that is committing police brutality? Yes. Do I think they should be prosecuted? Absolutely. Do I think that there needs to be police reform? Absolutely. But do I love police? Absolutely. Do I stand with police? Absolutely. I'm not going to not stand with police because of 1 or 2 isolated instances. Just like I'm not going to stop flying Spirit because I've flown dozens of times with Spirit and never had an issue and love Spirit, but I'm not going to deny that there was one injustice. And I'm not going to candy coat it, and I'm not going to say that that employee should not be fired or reprimanded or something. It's not my goal that that employee be fired. It was never my goal. If she gets fired, she gets fired. But my goal is always one of coaching. My goal is always one of training, you know what I mean? But the reality of the matter is, if she gets fired, she knew what she was doing, and she knew that I was taping, and she didn't care because she let her anger get the best of her. And that's just what it is. And if that passenger had missed a flight, she would have to rebook because they're not going to give her another ticket. And if she has to rebook at the airport on the same day, she's going to pay an astronomical amount of money. The airline's not going to give her her money back. When she calls, it's going to be her word against the employee's word because chances of there being a video, like the one that I filmed, chances of that video being seen 20 plus million times, run on ABC affiliates, NBC affiliates, CBS affiliates, picked up by the New York Post, picked up by the Daily Mail. picked up by Australian television, picked up by Fox affiliates, would have been slim to none. They wouldn't have believed her, and they might have 86'd her. They might have kept her from flying Spirit ever again. So, look, guys, the reality of the matter is that, hey, I don't want the employee to get fired. But she knew what she was doing. She had so many opportunities to take a step back, to walk away, to de-escalate. But she was just so angry, and it got more and more and more intense because the blonde Karen would not give her what she wanted. She didn't get mad. She didn't yell. She didn't curse at her. She just listened. Now, when she told her that the other people could proceed and she tried to keep her from flying, that's when blonde Karen said, no, you're not going to keep me from missing my flight. But hey, if the employee gets fired, she gets fired. I don't feel guilty. I've slept just fine every single night of the week. And I almost have a feeling that she wasn't fired. I almost have a feeling that she still works there. And when I go to Fort Lauderdale, I don't ask because that's already like too much for me. But I wouldn't be surprised in the least if she was still there. There have been other incidents with Spirit and Frontier, with Delta and United as well, not just at Discount Airlines, where it says ex-employee, like in the article, because Spirit never gave a comment. They didn't do it to Fox, NBC, CBS, ABC. Nobody got a comment. The Daily Mail didn't get a comment. The New York Post didn't get a comment. Yahoo News didn't get a comment. They all asked me if they could use it, and I told them all they could, as long as they gave me credit, and they did, except for one news station out of Cleveland. They all gave me credit for Sight Sounds Flavors on YouTube, Sight Sounds Flavors on TikTok, sightsoundsflavors.com. And I've got sightsoundsflavors.com and Sight Sounds Flavors and Sights, Sounds, and Flavors.com. I've got them both. But the reality of the matter is Spirit never gave a comment. So, because they never gave a comment, I mean, they can't say that they didn't know. That they can't say, because obviously they know. But she may still be working there. Okay, we got some comments here. I have a rod in my leg, and Frontier knew it. I went through the x-ray, and they grabbed me and said they had to pat me down. I told you I have a rod in my leg, and the lady screamed at me. No. I'm so sorry, Melissa, and you're welcome for the like. We booked Spirit one way at a time, and our ticket was $20 from Texas to Michigan. $20, guys. From Texas to Michigan. I mean, that's insane. Why wouldn't you fly Spirit? You know what I mean? So, and Melissa probably has a few bucks to her name. And I'm not going to ask her that because that's a personal question, but this is where so many people have it wrong. You say, oh, that looks like a Greyhound bus station. Oh, that looks like a third world country. Some of the people in that line, I can almost guarantee you, have a lot more money in the bank than most of you leaving those types of comments. And they have it there because they don't splurge. And look at me, like I said, Louisville to Fort Lauderdale, United, American, and Delta, not a single one has a direct flight. Only Spirit and Allegiant. So I shouldn't fly Spirit or Allegiant because they're discount airlines? Doesn't make any sense. I'm a litigation paralegal. A litigation paralegal. She makes a boatload of money. I'm an attorney. I do family law, criminal defense, and immigration. I can tell you the real money is in litigation. And if you're a paralegal, a litigation paralegal, a good paralegal runs circles around a new attorney, even a somewhat, intermediate attorney. A good paralegal, they can't give legal advice and they can't appear in court, but they're basically, they've got it. They like I said, they can run circles around a new lawyer, even an intermediate lawyer in some situations. To me, a paralegal, it's almost like an NCO. It's like a sergeant major, and a new lawyer is like a second lieutenant. A second lieutenant doesn't know their head from their ass. A sergeant major knows everything. So to me, and especially a litigation paralegal, forget about it. She is not suffering at all, in the paycheck department. But she flies Spirit. Why would she fly a different airline and pay a ticket like that from Texas to Michigan could easily cost $600 on Priceline as a deal? Why would she pay $600 when she can go for $40 round trip? You know what I mean? But in any event, guys, I really appreciate everybody that came through. Melissa, thank you so very much. My heart's actually over here, but the mic might go off, so I'm going to put my hand over my lungs. Thank you so very much. 9 years, we are attorneys without the bar card, in my opinion. I'm not going to give an opinion on that, even though I just shook my head, but I will say that paralegals know an awful lot, an awful lot, and they know more, I say, than a new attorney, because a new attorney only has that textbook knowledge from law school. Yes, I know they passed the bar, but there's your textbook law and there's your everyday law, and there's a practice of law in real life, and there's a sort of practice of law in the classroom. I'm sure you can figure out which one is more useful and which one's more marketable and necessary, but we'll leave it at that. In any event, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you like, comment, and subscribe to Sight Sound Slavers on YouTube, sightsoundslavers.com. Also, check out Everything Else channel on YouTube for more stuff that probably doesn't fit in here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. How do I get out of here? I think it's over here.